lost in this darkness, we are taking a torchlight, looking for the energy minister. We cannot find the energy minister. Mr. Energy Minister, where are you? Bring back our lights. The emerging power crisis during the second term of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama obviously will be deeper, and it appears that it's going to be darker and deadlier. Across the country, businesses are gradually grinding to a halt, industries are scaling back production, and hospitals are struggling to save lives without consistent electricity. Yet they go to the hospitals and all they know is sacking the chief executives. Sack them. Sack them. Sack them. That is all that the ministers are doing. Targeting chief executives and sacking them, instead of putting on the lights. Home appliances are burning out. Livelihoods are vanishing. And the national mood is collapsing under the weight of government inaction. Government, bring back our lights. You were not elected to lament. You were elected to do the work and fix the lights and fix the problem. You promised in your sonar that you were going to fix the problems. You are not fixing the problems, fix the problems. Now, assault on the judiciary, the rule of law under siege. His Excellency promised, quote, reset the faith in leaders and institutions, end quote. I repeat, His Excellency promised reset of faith in leaders and institutions. But what do we see? He has instead launched a chilling offensive against the judicial independence, attempting to hound the Chief Justice out of office under contrived pretexts while pushing through a 7 hand-picked appointment to the Supreme Court. It has never happened in our democracy where the president makes a direct appointment and more or less coerces the Judicial Council to swiftly, whether they like it or not, approve of same. The practice has always been that nominations are made by various stakeholders. The Ghana Bar has an input. The Office of the Chief Justice has an input. The Judicial Council itself has an input. The government, the president acting through the Attorney General makes an input. And all these names are deliberated upon, discussed in detail, and a recommendation ferried to the president for further action. May I refer the government to the matter of Ghana Bar Association versus Attorney General, where Thaddeus Sori, the lead counsel for Ghana Bar, made strong argument on this matter. It was a situation where the Judicial Council had made some recommendations in a certain order of merit for the president to exercise the discretion of appointment. And even so, the Ghana Bar questioned the exercise of discretion and argued, among others, that since there was an order of merit upon which the recommendation was mounted, the president couldn't have chosen from the bottom, because we have my Lord Mafusau, we had Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, followed by my Lord Yawapao, and then lastly, Mr. Scott Puaman, as he then was. Yet the president chose from the bottom 2. And Ghana Bar challenged this at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that, well, that recommendation was unadvised. And to the extent that all of those 4 individuals were recommended to the president could choose from the bottom. The president could choose anybody and was not bound by the order of merit. So clearly, a procedure, a practice as to how a justice of the Supreme Court is appointed is known. So why would the president write a letter that he's made appointment and urges that upon the Judicial Council to, at all costs, approve of same? This is very rich. The president and his government are not on a journey of reform. They are doing court packing. This is dictatorship disguised as democracy. And we, the minority, will not stand for it. Now, they are silencing dissent. The return of iron fists. They promised that they will allow free speech. But today, even political opponents are threatened. They will send their attack dogs on radio. When they think that you are being critical of them, they start to threaten you. Even journalists come under attack. The Secretary General of TUC, who boldly echoed the views of organized labor, is under attack. Even the views expressed by GBA also came under attack. And then they find a way of using social media to spread fake news and falsify information and crush genuine views expressed to shape governance. But let me remind Mr. President that in his own inaugural address, he called for accountability and promised to fight corruption. Yet, as I've already said, journalists are being harassed. Opposition MPs, like my brother John Intim recently became a target because he had raised a critical national issue, which required the security agencies to engage constructively. They personalized it and they made him a target. It was an eyesore when they unleashed NIB officials at his residence, wielding guns and wearing masks. Did we go or did we come? What we are experiencing is another vendetta, and this is not justice, an opportunity for all Ghanaians, rather persecution. They promise constitutional reform, but we don't trust them. What they are doing is not constitutional reform, but they are attempting to create a Trojan horse for perhaps, if not lifetime presidency, a third-term presidency. Already, we have heard the national chairman of the NDC complaining bitterly about the internal struggle for succession. The NDC is abandoning governance and rather thinking of their party interests. Why would the national chairman, no less a person than Mr. Asedu Nkatia, boldly go on radio in less than 90 days, be talking about that internal problem? We are also aware that another group in the NDC are pushing for a third term for President Dramani Mahama. It's a reason why, instead of the promised governance and constitutional reforms, we are seeing a new agenda. What we know is that there is a sinister and diabolical plot firmly underway to tighten the president's grip on power and prolong his days in office. So they knew that the firmness of the Chief Justice will not allow this. So they started to unleash the attack dogs on the Chief Justice to try and clear out of the way so that they will have their way. But we, the minority, today tell the NDC government they will never have their way. We see diabolical schemes. We read the signals. And we say this clearly. Ghana is not a monarchy. We will not be ruled for life. We will not let one man's desire for autocracy and unchecked power rewire the constitution to suit the ambitions of a desperate party. So the hawks in the NDC who are so power drunk and are pushing through this third-term agenda, let them stay their hands. The other hawks in the NDC who are thinking succession and are not making it possible for the president to govern, and all they care about is their internal struggle for who succeeds him, we are telling them too that they are hurting the country. The government has already entered its lame dark days, looking at all the signs on the wall. This is affecting the ordinary people, and they should wake up to the reality of their bona fide governance. 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 We are wide awake. The NDC should not be under any false impression that with their 183 plus others in parliament, they will find a way of forcing their way with very unconstitutional reforms through parliament. The mighty minority will not allow them to have their way. We will stand firm with the people of Ghana and fight all illegalities in parliament. We trust that Mr. Speaker would accord us the necessary support to air our views on the floor of the House. Now, let me turn my attention to the private sector. The NDC is collapsing the private sector. The government is punishing producers. On the day of his inauguration, Mr. President called on business leaders to help him shape, quote, an environment where creativity thrives and where fruits of their labor contribute to the collective welfare of our nation, end quote. But 120 days, that appeal has cuddled into betrayal. Businesses across the country, small, medium, and large, are suffocating. Why? Because the very government that promised partnership has become a predator. Suppliers, contractors, service providers, Ghanaians who finance and fulfill government contracts with their own resources or bank loans have not been paid. Some have been forced to shut down. Others have laid off workers, and countless others have plunged into debt, despair, and ruin. This government is presiding over economic vandalism, masquerading as governance. When the government refuses to pay its debts, it collapses the very economy it claims to lead. Mr. President, you cannot pay the people of Ghana who have sacrificed to work to build our infrastructure, who have supplied to state institutions. You cannot decide not to pay them. This amounts to the government sabotage of business. NDC government, you are ruining the businesses you came to meet. Your actions are becoming a liability. Now, on the import duties, we go on these broken promises on import duties and the COVID-19 levy. In his inaugural speech, the president acknowledged the pain of Ghanaians, promising to change the destiny of this nation of ours. But this government continues to allow what he had called during his days in opposition, crashing levies and regressive taxes on the backs of the sovereign people of Ghana. He promised to review and reduce import duties to make easier for traders, importers, and consumers. He has not. He promised to abolish the COVID-19 health recovery levy because the pandemic is long past and the people's pockets are exhausted. He has not. Instead, this government has maintained and even compounded the cost of living for every Ghanaian household. Prices continue to surge, markets remain unstable, and traders groan under taxes that, by his own standards, serve no current purpose, but enrich a bloated state machinery. Promises under the NDC government are no more sacred. They are just tools for winning elections and excuses for not governing. Betrayal of industrialization, killing jobs, killing hope. The president pledged in January to implement a 24-hour economy to stimulate, quote, to stimulate local industries and attract investment, end quote. But instead of building upon the 1D1F initiative, a bold, pragmatic program that used tax incentives to ignite industrialization across Ghana, the government of President Mahama has shelved it. The government has discarded it, abandoned it, and killed it. Factories that were planned under the previous administration now sit idle. Investment plans have stalled. Thousands of potential jobs have vanished before they could materialize. The message to investors in our economy is loud and clear. You are not safe here anymore. Mr. President, your reset is not a lifeline for the economy. It is suffocating lockdown on production. You are not creating jobs. You are killing them. Now it is rich to a much more tidy checklist, and they will know that they failed the people of Ghana. So yes, they may try to pat themselves on their own, on their back, but clearly there is no clear delivery architecture for many of the initiatives that they've introduced. There is no single policy direction for any sector of the economy clearly outlined by the government for its ministers. No enforcement mechanism, no timelines. In too many instances, governments have substituted symbolism for substance. What we are witnessing is not the architecture of a national renewal. It is a scaffolding of political theater. Ghana does not need praise points. Ghana needs power, jobs, justice, and delivery. The difference is not academic. It is existential. Let me conclude. Mr. President, you have performed badly, poorly. Indeed, the failures that we have catalogued so far are not exhaustive. The cocoa farmers, under MPP, cocoa price per bag was 3,000. They promised to increase it to 6,000. We had it at 3,100. They said they were going to increase it to 6,000. Today, they have reneged on that promise, and they tell us that they didn't know the scale of the challenge. Really? So they didn't know and they were promising. We don't need symbolic gestures. They are only engaged in such practices and neglecting the structures. The deeper you look, the more you find that this government does not aim to transform, but they are engaged and in a regression wrapped in rhetoric. Mr. President, you promised truth, but so far we are seeing evasion. Mr. President, you promised inclusiveness. Today, you are serving us with exclusion. Your Excellency, you promised partnership. But what we are experiencing from your government is punishment. You promised prosperity. What do we see today? Paralysis. NDC, I say to you, you've broken your promise. You have abandoned your own sacred oath as a government. You have abandoned your own manifesto. You've trampled upon the hopes of the nation in search of a meaningful continuity. But this country will not surrender. We, the minority, the mighty minority, will not sit back as you redefine and ruin reforms. We will not let you stretch your stay or mutilate the Constitution. After 120 days, we clearly see your schemes. We see your lame duck days. We see a government without hope. We see bitterness along the way. But we promise the people of Ghana that we will stand by you, we will stand with you, and we know that come the next cycle of elections, NPP will have an opportunity to reset this country on a positive footing for a better Ghana. Thank you so much indeed. Yeah. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make us great and strong.
National organizer of the development party, lawyer Henry Nana Boche.